Hello and welcome to the Carbitrage podcast, episode 220. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Snitsky. Hello, sir.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hello, listener.
Oh man, 20 degrees cooler in here. The last time we recorded.
I should not have worn shorts.
Well, I could close one of the doors, I guess.
No. I guess I'll just complain. That's
Okay,
fine.
I can relate to that. So, anyway, before we hop into anything else, I want to quickly touch on our Patreon page, patreon.com/Carbitrage. On this custom-crafted website, you will find two open-ended levels of monetary support for content consumers like you to support content producers like us. Buy us a beer, get a topic, do all the fun stuff. We'll even get you some swag. Patreon.com/Carbitrage.
Yay.
All right, moving on to drinks. Neither one of us actually have a beer yet.
It's 9:13 in the morning.
Yeah, we're doing this a little earlier in the morning for reasons we will get into in the episode, but I have a very strong cup of coffee.
I was going to go, but there's lines everywhere, so I have a LaCroix.
There's more coffee in the carafe. And there's cups.
I may partake. So, but for now, I have a LaCroix. It's key lime. It's my second favorite LaCroix.
It's actually pretty good. I didn't know that it was going to be any good.
The key lime?
Yeah, my nephew left it down here.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
key lime's super, because they have a lime, and the lime sucks. The key lime, though, is really good. But the best one's really passion fruit. But that one's like
that's
impossible
the one I
to
usually.
find.
Costco has it.
Yeah, it's usually, well, it's like Costco has it, but like if you go like random grocery stores, it's like once in a blue moon you'll find it. But you usually find key lime. And key lime's where it's at. So
Fair enough. I like LaCroix. I ended up forming quite
this episode of the
a
broadcast
fondness. Yeah.
brought to you by LaCroix.
It's pretty good. When I took a month off drinking beer, I was smashing through those.
Every single person in the recovery community drinks sparkling water like it's water.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was deep, Ryan. You come up with that one by
Like
yourself.
they completely like every time like you would think of something that's like, here's a time where you'll have a beer. Here's a time where you're gonna have a pop. Here's a time where you're gonna have milk. It's just like they'll have sparkling water instead.
I'm gonna give me a cold pop. I thought someone was barbecuing. Anyhow, but yeah, we'll get into beer. I think you've got a bunch of stuff, and then I'll have to waddle over and see what I want. But I guess getting right into things, I'm actually going to start off with a topic that I pulled from our Discord. Shameless plug once again.
No, it's say 221. I don't know what to do.
Oh, let me scroll up. So
Thank
there we
you.
go.
All right, now I can pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Another plug for the Patreon. If you join that and you are already a Discord member, it will automatically add you to the Carbitrage Discord, which is actually a pretty active and great place. Oh, Corey says, "Dang, Ryan awake before noon."
Yep. I actually am awake. I was actually talking to Trig about this yesterday. I actually wake up with dawn, like with the sun rising.
And then how long does it take you to go back to sleep?
Oh, very, very shortly. I wake up and I decide if I want to wake up then. And
the answer is inevitably no.
Not inevitably, but it's a solid like 98% of the time I go with a no. Mm-mm.
I still remember when we were going up to, I think, my boss's air and car show. And you got to the Tesla in time, but you ended up falling asleep for the entire trip.
Yeah.
And then barely woke up in time for Baxter for the Supercharger
that
episode.
Sounds about right, yeah. That was, that's very, very accurate, yes.
There were a lot of alarms. Anyway, like I said, this is a topic that I pulled straight from one of our patrons from the Discord, and it is what unexpected manufacturer collaborations and what came out of them that was both horrifying and or amazing. So I added a few things in here. I'm sure you'll have
all sorts of weird ones.
All sorts of weird ones, but the first one was actually one put in there by Tucker, and it was the Harley-Davidson Porsche collaboration for the V-Rod engine.
I did not know it was a thing.
Yeah, it's a 4-cam liquid-cooled V-twin, and it was like 10 years of R&D and just like blowing up engines. They couldn't get it to hold together.
I was to say, that sounds very accurate, because Harley-Davidson and Porsche are both known to not be reliable. Like
it was a really bad engine, even the first year in production, and then it turned into a pretty cool engine, but it still does the bad sound
too.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the damage is done. Like, people knew.
Right.
So, the thing is, like, European car people,
yeah,
like, they're much more tolerant to dealing with bullshit like that. Like, Mercedes, like, owners are just like, yeah, you just don't buy the first year of the car. Whereas, like, any other brand are just like, no, why would I ever touch that? Like Toyota, like, with the 7M.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, God, yes.
Yeah, like, it was kind of a limited issue. Or actually, better example would be the 4G63, the DSM engine, and the Evo engine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the 4G63 for, like, the first year of production, like, in turbocharged form, had a rare problem with crank lock. And then for like the next 20 years, as long as the DSM existed, everybody always made fun of it about crankwalk, even though it happened on like 1989 Eclipses only. Like
I was gonna say it was the really early like 2-bolt 4Gs that had that. And
6-bolt, yeah. It was a 6-bolt rear main, but yeah, it was like that was the only one that had that issue because it went to a 7-bolt after that for the second gen. Even the 6-bolt was very reliable because I just put in a different like rear main and didn't have a problem anymore.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be as fun if we couldn't just yell crankwalk every time we saw a DSM.
Yeah, and so like, but like European people, like people buy Porsches, are just like, yeah, I'm gonna have an IMS bearing failure. Like this is gonna be part of my life. Like, okay,
can I fix it? Not really.
No, it's just gonna happen. I'm just gonna be upside down in my car forever.
I didn't realize, kind of jerking it back to Porsche for a second, how horseshit that 3.2 M96 was.
No, they're bad.
Like, the 2.5s and the 2.7s are actually like, really good.
So,
but the 3.2 is terrible.
Whenever I see somebody do like a top 10 best affordable cars list,
Boxster should not be on that.
If the Boxster's on that list, I quit reading because the person doesn't know what they're talking about.
With the exception maybe of a first-year 2.5 5-speed car, because those are pretty solid. They have the dual row, small diameter IMS. It's got like a Passat transaxle, and the engine is so under stress, like there's no rotating mass in that, so it doesn't seem to stretch rod bolts.
You're gonna deal with other
Porsche the soft
garbage.
Top and all the other parts.
There's gonna be other Porsche garbage.
But I'm okay with that answer.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're looking at a car that's $8,000, like,
yeah, you can't afford it.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to afford it. It's not gonna be in the top 10.
Oh, God.
So I'm actually gonna go out and I'm gonna say ISO, Intermechanica, and Bizzarini. Like
I've heard ISO for a while.
All of those weird European manufacturers that respond by Enzo Ferrari pissing off his customers, and them just going to America, getting a shitload of American engines, and just stuffing them into their own designs. Like, that whole era of the 60s and 70s made some of the best European vehicles. Like,
Thank you, Enzo.
Yeah, some of my favorite, some of my favorite European vehicles of all time, like the ISO Grifo, like immediately comes to mind. The Intermechanica Italia is a really good one. And like literally any Bizzarini is great, but yeah, the ISO Grifo and Intermechanica are the first two that come to mind for like being the most prolific for just coming up with like Monteverdi was another one.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, there's another one that was spawned from pissed off Ferrari customer. So yeah,
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, they're very cool cars. So you get Italian styling, European handling, and American power at that point in time.
And at the time, I think that was probably the best combination.
Also, I can't see the chat on OBS.
I don't know what's going on with it.
Don't worry about it. Don't break it.
I have it, so
okay.
I'll let you know if anything pops up in chat.
But yeah, so that'd be my first one that comes to mind would be the European weirdo manufacturers. Just all awesome cars. Like, you really can't go wrong. Like, if you want to own.
So those are in the amazing category, not
those,
the horrifying
those
category?
Those are, I think, collectively amazing.
Okay.
Because, also, Di Tommaso. There's another one I totally, like, the big one.
Also, even,
knows.
like, Lamborghini.
Well, Lamborghini
wasn't really a collaboration.
It wasn't a collaboration, but all those other ones were collaborations because they couldn't afford to actually make their own engines, whereas Lamborghini made tractors that allowed them to make their own engine. So, I think if I'm going to go with one that is terrible, I think I'm going to have to think about that one for a second, because I can't think of that off the top of my head. I feel like it's probably Lotus collaborating with somebody on suspension, and it didn't work out very well. I'm trying to think if they ever did something for like a W body.
I don't know if they did that. I have in my list the Proton Lotus.
The what?
Yeah, there was a Proton.
Like the Malaysian car manufacturer?
Yeah, they did they tuned all the suspension for one of their Proton coupes. That was covered in an old Top Gear episode where they were doing a cheap and cheerful car challenge, and Hammond picked a Proton, like suspension by Lotus.
It's just rubbish.
It's terrible, really.
Actually, here's another good one: the second generation Toyota Supra. Lotus suspension, Toyota everything else.
I'm blanking on what the second gen is.
The one I owned.
Oh, Celica Supra?
Yeah, Celica Supra. So, what they were able to do is they wanted to have a car that was like a GT, so something that would give you this soft road feel that was like comfortable at the time and people wanted,
Mhm.
but would actually still be able to like take a corner without losing control. And so, yeah, Lotus designed the suspension to be able to have lots of travel, very soft, almost W body like soft suspension.
Oh, you have to bring W body into this.
I'm just trying to describe like the level of how soft Supra suspension is. Like it's got like just silly amounts of like just body roll and stuff. It feels like a 70s car when you're driving it. But unlike a 70s car, it doesn't lose traction unless you want it to lose traction.
I've never driven like a 70s or even early 80s Lotus to know what that's like. but
Well,
would
I mean, like
imagine-
when I say a 70s car, I mean like a little Buick LeSabre.
Right, I know you weren't
Yeah.
referencing a 70s Lotus,
But like you can just continuously just put your foot into the gas, and as long as you kick the clutch, you're not gonna break traction. It'll be able to take a corner. So
I don't know if kicking a clutch was really a thing in the 70s.
well,
Maybe.
I mean, I guess it would be. It's a Supra. It's 80s. So
If they watched Initial D, which was after that, maybe. I've got the Audi RS2 Avant on here. That was another Porsche collab.
Oh, as Porsche.
Yeah.
So who all did Porsche? Because they did the RS2, they did that awful Harley, and then they did
Did the 500e,
500e. That
which
was
was pretty
a good
good.
one.
I don't know who else they worked with. Those were the ones that really, really came to mind quickly.
You know what's another one that's good? Donkervoort.
What the bleepity bleep is that?
That is a Lotus 7
Okay.
with a Audi V8.
That sounds terrifying. Was it a 4.2 at least, or a 3.6?
It's 4.2. I
Okay.
think it was supercharged too.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like it's made
It's like
in
a
the Netherlands.
spiker, but smaller.
Yeah, and it's like made in the Netherlands, and they're really cheap, relatively, for what they are. And like people in the Netherlands, like just driving to Germany, and they go find Porsches in the Autobahn and upset them.
I just can't imagine doing that kind of speed with like no doors.
Well, you have doors, but they're like the size of this little WeatherTech floor mat cup holder.
They're not like canvas. They're actually like made out of.
They're made of metal,
Oh, okay.
or at least carbon fiber, but like they're like 1 square foot. Like it's barely a door.
Corey says use the bell. That sounds like a pre-war company.
It's not a pre-war company.
Okay, we can't use the bell then.
Yeah, they are a modern company.
After reading this, I look in the notes and I see 500e. I'm like, what the hell, the Fiat 500e? I'm like, technically that was a collab between FCA and Bosch, but like I was referencing the Mercedes one.
Yeah, that's I thought too. I go, wait, what? And then yeah, Mercedes 500e. I'm trying to think of one that I really hated.
I'm looking at my list. Though the Infiniti Mercedes collaboration with that GLA thing, I hate that.
Oh, that's pretty bad. Actually, I was gonna say any Harley Davidson F-150, but that's more of a trim level than an actual design thing.
Yeah, who knows how much say they had in that.
They didn't. They just slapped their logo over it in the worst way possible.
I saw Lincoln Blackwood on the way here.
Very cool. Not a Harley Davidson. That's
No,
just
very
a cool
different.
truck.
I just like it was very well cared for. I'm like, that is strange to
They
see.
had carpeted beds.
Oh my god! I noticed it had like the split
Yeah.
tailgate. I'm
Then
like,
when
this is
when
the
you open it
dumbest
up,
thing.
it's a carpeted bed.
The Mazda Ranger. I think that thing's pretty dumb.
The
The later B series V6
no,
pickups.
those are very good actually.
I don't believe that for a second with
No.
the 4 liters.
No, they didn't have those.
They had a B4000.
The 4-liter, sure, but the normal one was a Mazda inline 4.
Right, but like that was the early ones. Yeah, I'm talking
No,
like the bubbly
even the late-
90s ones.
Even those had a Mazda engine.
The B3000 and the B4000 are the ones I'm talking about.
Okay, well, specifically the V6 ones, yes, V6 is gonna suck because it's a Ford V6 that
Exactly, that's terrible.
But coming to think of that, the first generation Kia Sportage was another very good one because that was a Mazda
Four-cylinder.
engine with a not Mazda body, and that was just a very, very, very cheap, cute Ute.
I think of Maserati when you say Mazda body.
But actually, speaking of Mazda, they're like the kings of they're the Japanese Lotus. Because turn the Miata into everything. Because you have the 124, and then you have Toyota was gonna work with Mazda to make what was it, like the S? I can't remember what it was, but they were making a smaller like sports car based off the Miata that they ended up canning.
I'm still surprised that the 124 came to be. But yeah, you're right. And actually, I've got the one I highlighted down there. We're going to talk about that a little bit further
But
on
also
about
the
Mazda whoring
Ford-
itself out.
The Ford Festiva was a Mazda and Ford product.
The 90s one?
The square body one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know
That was
Mazda.
that was a Mazda 121, and they brought here's the Festiva, But everybody's like, okay, that's a cool like econo box like fuel miser, but in the Philippines and in Japan they had a dual word cam version of it.
Oh yeah, you gotta import that engine.
Had like 100 horsepower, and it's like
I'd badge it as a 121 and put the engine in there for sure.
Yeah, it's like totally cool. And in the Philippines, you could even get a 5-door version.
Oh,
and
dude.
So like, yeah, so like in the Philippines in that era, like like in like the late 90s, we had like the Civics were the cool car to have. Like in the Philippines, it was the Festiva 5-door, which was you can get with the manual transmission with the dual word cam engine. Actually, have a hot hatch out of Festiva. So
that's kind of cool.
It's very cool.
That's like the Yugo GVX.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's like the GVX, but they So the Festiva is actually a very secret, very cool car.
Most of the stuff I'm looking at on my list is actually I'm gonna go on the side of it's better than I thought it would be, because like Mercedes-Benz and Dodge, they brought Sprinters to North America like 20 years before the ProMaster got here.
That's true. Yeah,
that was pretty productive. Pontiac and GMC bought us the Typhoon and the Cyclone.
Yep,
those were collab projects. BMW, Toyota, you may have different feelings on it, but I think that was a really good choice. With the 890, 891.
So this is the thing. I get both ends of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I being a traditionalist with Japanese cars, don't like it because I hate the naming of the Supra. If they didn't call it a Supra, if they called it anything else, I'd be fine with it.
The 4-cylinder one, I agree with you, should be called a Celica.
I think that there's so many other names that they could have gone with.
Is it worse for you than the Mach-E or better?
It is on par with Mach-E for how much I hate it.
Okay, well, that puts it into perspective.
Yeah, like it's entirely the naming convention. If it wasn't a Supra, I'd be fine. Like if it was anything else.
Well, I mean, the alternative is Toyota wouldn't have put the money into developing the platform or a straight six, so we wouldn't have had it at all.
I would have been happier with the Sienna engine. Because
the V6?
Yeah. Because the thing is with the Supras, it's supposed to be the Toyota Halo car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like...
Well, why don't you have an issue with the chassis being from BMW then?
Listen.
Powertrain, I think, is less egregious than the chassis, arguably.
I think all of the above, if it's gonna be your Halo car. It's like BMW... It's like BMW.
Ryan's alarm to wake up just went off.
Yeah, I know, right? Like if BMW took their Halo car, I guess the M5 would be their Halo car. Like, what would you consider the BMW Halo car?
Right now?
Yeah. Like the car, it's like everything that BMW can possibly do, all thrown into one.
I'm gonna call it the M2CS, even though I think that's finally out of production. So yeah, probably the M5 competition.
Yeah. So like the M5. Now imagine if the M5 was based off of a Mercedes S-Class.
Weird.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like. It's just weird. Like
I think it'd be like the M5 being based off of like an E-Class convertible or something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm just like an equivalently fun car or equivalently
right, but those are different size
cars.
Classes.
But
like a Z4 and a Supra are about the same size.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you're basing it off of your competitor's car instead of making your own thing. Like it'd actually be like if instead of making the like Z4 or instead of Ferrari making a great front engine like GT, they just based it off of a Corvette. That's what it would be like.
With an LS?
Well, no, I mean like, just like any part of it, if you just say.
I'm kind of intrigued by something like that, but yeah, if a Ferrari had one camshaft, I'd be like,
yeah,
okay,
it'd be really
wrong.
weird. It just feels weird. Like if they called it literally anything else, like if they called it the Toyota
Dino,
the Carina, the Toyota, if it was the Toyota Carina instead of the Toyota Supra, it'd been a better fit. But anyway, I like the car as it is. If you take the Super badge off,
can do.
What was I? Shoot, there's another really, really good one I was gonna come up with.
Corey just brought up the Crossfire.
That was actually one of them. But no, the Trailblazer.
Isuzu, yeah, the Ascender.
That is one. I think
and Saab too. Ugh.
Yeah, and Saab. But
boy, that was weird.
That was just the Trailblazer Saab thing. I think that's only classified as bad, even though they had good versions of it. But largely, it was bad.
A 97X Aero is a very fascinating vehicle.
A 97X Aero is a Halo car for me.
Yeah.
Truck for me. If I ever get it, bless you.
Sorry.
When I get a towing rig, I plan it being a 97X Aero, because
the wheels are so good on that thing. It's just a pile of crap, but
everything's so good except for the transmission.
Yep.
And so I think I could. I think I could do the thing with the 97X Aero that I want to do with an old Jag, where I find one that has like a destroyed transmission. Like with the old Jag, you get a destroyed engine because it overheated once and broke everything.
You might get lucky. They offered the 5.3 and the non-aero trim on those too.
I want the aero trim. I want the everything.
Fine.
I want it to look like a really nice Saab, and then it's actually a Trailblazer SS.
What was they built one on the 2nd gen Equinox just before they died too, like the 9.4X.
Oh yes, they did.
Yuck.
Ooh,
I bet
that's
there's
bad.
none of those running anymore.
Here's a bad one. The Chevy Captiva.
Oh yeah.
That's a Daewoo.
It was also a Pontiac View, or not Pontiac, Saturn View.
Yeah, it was a Saturn View, and it was actually a Daewoo.
That is a vehicle that just came with no presence and then left again. And like, what was that?
No, first time I ever saw an article about it was a Mac Car Monday from Jason Torchinsky.
Accurate. Wow.
It's like I was like reading that at Airplane, like this is the most Mac car I could ever possibly. Like this is the king of Mac Car Monday.
Daewoo GM, we didn't talk about that at all. It gave us the Aveo, it gave us a bunch of stuff in
yeah,
Europe especially. But
that is the most hit and miss thing I've ever heard of in my life. Because for like every Aveo, you had a Chevy Spark. Like then you had
and
like
the Spark EV is like one of the coolest cars.
Yeah.
Just like,
there's like they made some cool cars, but they also made the Aveo like just the worst. And the Captiva
and the Lassetti,
and the Lassetti, yes.
which we didn't get here obviously. But
no, we didn't. But also, oh boy, not great.
355 is coming back in.
Ooh, actually, another bad one. Any of Suzuki's collaborations outside their collaborations with Honda.
Suzuki outside of their collabs with Honda. I'm trying to think of who else they collaborated with.
GM a lot. Like if you think of like the Suzuki like Reno.
The Kizashi wasn't
Forza,
a
not
collab, was it?
No, it wasn't. That was all Suzuki. But then, like the Forenza or something.
Oh my God, yes.
Like they had some garbage. Like that's why I rank Isuzu as a better brand than Suzuki, is solely because of their collaborations with GM and stuff like that. Like their other collaborations like ruined Suzuki as a brand for me.
I guess I'm not privy enough to all their collabs to really make an educated.
Just next time you see like a really really clapped out generic early 2000s late 90s car, it's probably a Suzuki.
Listen to that F129B and those cooling fans.
Yes, those are cooling fans. So, yeah, just I think Suzuki might be the king of bad collaborations.
Okay, all right, they can win, I guess.
Yeah, I think they win that.
Corey says the Cadillac XLR, but that's like intra GM, I guess. Yeah, because I put the Pontiac GMC thing on there, so yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, you could call that.
That's something I have to add to our upcoming episode.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I really like that. I think that's the end of what I've got for.
I'm just trying to think of one. Oh, DSM's 3000 GT.
Oh yeah, that's in here. The 3000 GT.
Good.
And not only that, but like everything they made, like that GS platform turned into so many other things for like Hyundai.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is very good.
I'm not sure if that's a collab or if that's just like a company dying and the other one just being like phoenixed up from the ashes.
Mitsubishi was like huge for collaborating. That kept them alive. Actually, was their just like the rights for their other like products that were still being made in the world. That kept them alive for a long time. Like for most of the 2000s.
And look at them now. Hello.
For like most of the 2000s, it was like them just being alive because like somebody was still making the 4G63 in like Liberia.
But still, why don't we have a 4G63 all-wheel drive Mirage?
You can get it in Sweden. They
But,
make them.
but here.
It's called a Mitsubishi R5.
But we should have that here, though.
Yes, we should.
But we don't.
No, we don't.
So Mitsubishi NA, we're looking at you.
Yeah.
Make
Actually,
that happen.
Mitsubishi does plan on doing more rally art stuff, so maybe we'll
Maybe
get
we need to
lucky.
write our car Congress persons.
Maybe my like 10 years of like constantly mentioning it in every article about Mitsubishi is I want a Turbo Mirage.
I've seen a couple things today when I was looking for topics. I'm like, dude, we covered that. There was a Autoblog, I think, did a full article on yellow CRXs and why you'll never look at them the same
hilarious.
way. I'm like, Ryan
Yeah,
covered
it's a
that
real
like
thing,
3
yeah.
years ago.
It's a real thing, yeah.
So congratulations for all you listening to Carbitrage out there.
Yeah, you get things before everybody else.
The hot take. The last one I want to cover is Subaru Toyota. So the GT86, the BR GT86Z.
That's another one where I'm kind of weird about it, but the fact that they co-designed it, like it wasn't like Toyota just using a BMW chassis.
Mm-hmm.
Like they co-designed it.
Right.
So I like it. I hate the engine, but I like the car.
The engine, I jury's out on the second gen one. Maybe they've fixed some of the issues because Subaru does rolling changes. I don't think so.
My
But
rule of thumb is it takes Subaru 30 years to figure out anything.
it is a perfect vessel for a K-Series or an LS.
Yeah, it's a great vessel for any other engine. And they're plentiful and they're good.
That
and
chassis is good. The transmission is basically the NC box.
What I like about the FRS BRZ 86 is that the engine's reliable enough that it's not going to tarnish their reputations. It's just one of those engines where it's like it's already at its peak. Like it's like a F20.
Well, it was the first gen too of the FA when it came out in that car. And honestly, I was at Proving Grounds last weekend, I think it was, and Jade was up there and she's like, "I want a fun car to do X, Y, and Z, but my budget is this, and I still need to be able to use it." I'm like, honestly, you should get a GT86 because like they're not super inflated right now. Values from the used car
really
market,
cheap.
they're really practical. They don't get great fuel economy, but like the chassis is really good, and you could use it every day, and you could do autocross and stuff with it if you wanted.
It's just a good
like,
car. Like it's one of those things. Like it's a good
not me
car.
for
It's at its limit, but like if you're just gonna use it, if you don't plan on like fooling yourself saying I'm gonna double the horsepower without a turbo, like it's gonna be a good car. Like if you're just gonna put an exhaust on it and drive it around, yeah, you're gonna be thrilled.
If you don't need a convertible, the answer is not always Miata.
Yeah, I think it's the person who wants a Miata but doesn't want to live with a Miata should get that car.
Or needs back seats because they have
that's amazing.
a need for a back seat.
A person that wants a Miata but doesn't want to live with one,
Fine.
just get a BRZ FT86. I would say a BRZ because I like the interior more on the BRZ because it is actually nicer than the Toyota.
But they're
interior.
Noticeably more money used, I think, for that very reason.
Yeah, because they're a little bit nicer. Also, Subaru people are just weird and they'll like pay big money for Subarus.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
but you're 100% right.
I don't get it either. So speaking of paying big money, I discovered something that I did not know I needed until I found out that I needed it. It's a convertible Land Cruiser.
Oh my! No, that's a FJ.
Or sorry, I'm sorry, FJ Cruiser, SL Cruiser, and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised you're as with it as you are.
A FJ Cruiser convertible made by Newport Convertible Engineering.
That actually fits like the window line really well.
It's a really cool.
Oh, it's an automatic.
Yeah, listen. The fact that it exists is what's important.
Oh, there's another alarm.
Yep.
Ryan shouldn't be awake
You're
yet.
going to have a cacophony of alarms coming through shortly. At random intervals as well, so I can't just like wake up and then turn it off. And like it's designed to wake me up.
This thing's in great shape.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. I mean, it sold for $32,500 on Brand Trailer.
Wow.
So,
Accident reported too.
yeah, like I imagine if one of these was like
Was the convertible conversion the accident?
probably, but like if this is yellow in manual
Oh, dude. Or blue.
or blue in manual without an accident, this would be a $50,000 truck. Like
Wow.
this is such a cool truck.
It looks like it was very well done. I mean, I would have some concerns long term about being able to like repair the convertible top.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like
But there's
anytime.
custom companies all over that do that.
Yeah,
so.
and it is what it is.
Dude, this was in Missouri? What the hell?
I know, it's a really cool truck. Like,
I picture this being in like LA or San Diego
or
or
like
something.
Florida or something. Yeah, this is a very Florida truck.
It is.
I'm just in love with this truck. So I did not know I needed it, but apparently this is now my bucket list of vehicles I need is a FJ Cruiser convertible.
And I guarantee the visibility is no worse than it was as a hardtop.
No, because the visibility is
It wasn't there to begin
horrific.
with. Yes.
Yeah, at all
That
times.
was one of the most resounding things I remember from having my FJ. It's like you can't see out of it at all.
Yeah, you see nothing.
But then you turn on the 3 windshield wipers and you just stop caring about it.
Yeah, because you have 3 wipers. It's like a really big MG. That's reliable. It's a big, reliable MG.
It was very reliable, I will say. I had never had an issue with the 1GR.
I saw an FJ that was worse than yours.
Mine wasn't that bad.
Well, the body damage and stuff on it.
On the hood, yeah.
I saw one where the whole truck looked like it had been rolled down a hill. It's just, I don't understand how you could have one that was that screwed up. Like, just like every panel was broken.
It's
in
a
some
Toyota.
way.
It doesn't
And
particularly
it was
care.
driving fine. Like, it sounded totally normal. But, like, it just
Versus
looked...
just
Yeah,
sipping
no,
their coffee,
like,
going down the road.
It looks like the guy just understeered off a highway in, like, Colorado and just tumbled down a mountain.
Whoops.
Yeah, it was just wild.
That's his only car? He's just got to make
Like,
do.
there's a big dent in the roof. It was missing, like, all of the, like, wheel arch flares. Like, it wasn't a guy who, like, obviously took it off-road. The dude looked like just a normal hipster. Like, he was like, you know, like, he was like Taylor Finger. Just a normal guy.
Maybe he just bought a car using only Craigslist photos.
Yeah, and he just got it.
I didn't notice that damage.
Yeah, what's this?
Oh, yeah, that was in the pictures. Oh, you're right. It was.
Yeah, exactly. So, It was very, very good to see that it was loved.
Loved is a way to put that for sure.
Yes, very loved.
Another way to express love is the German population. Finally, actually, this must have been going on since her death, but we talked about Sabine last week, and they have done a pretty big thing for her. Turn 1 on the Nordschleife has been renamed the Sabine Schmitz curve.
Nobody had that name for that curve. That is a notoriously annoying curve. I'm really happy it's turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever I'm playing this on a video game, I screw up that turn.
Yep.
I just restart.
Exactly. This is the thing. Everyone that goes out on this track goes through that turn at least once.
Yeah, and just
forward or backward,
yeah.
doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
your car is usually in one piece at that point.
Yeah.
So had it been turn 143, I would have been a little sad.
Yeah, no, this is the good one. Yeah, I
But
like this.
I don't know what it was called before. Maybe that's
I
probably
think
in
it was
the
just
article.
turn 1.
Oh wow, I made the text really small.
I imagine it was called turn 1.
No, they all have names.
Not anything great. Ringering corner.
Right. Like
It's something
Meckitz
horrible.
and Dachau.
Like,
Going through Dachau. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. But what it is now is the Sabine Schmitz curve, and that's super epic. So
that's
I'm
good.
Very,
Good
very
for
happy
them.
about that.
I'm happy to hear that.
We talked about that during the homage lap. I'm like, I really hope they name part of the track after her, because that's just kind of
Yeah,
like
she
her
totally
track.
deserves it.
The queen of the ring.
And they also drove the E36 around the track. That was cool to see.
Germany's coming together
Yes, they are.
as their economy struggles to recover from the terrible policies of 2020.
So speaking of terrible policies of Germany,
That is worrying.
spawned a bunch of hot rodders in the 1950s
Oh my God.
and modern car culture.
I mean, I have to applaud that segue.
That was a segue, wasn't it?
I have no idea how you pulled that one out, but congratulations. And you keep going. I'm getting a beer.
So, talking about hot rodders and stuff, we have Monterey Car Week for just hot rods that happens, and that's back to the 50s here in Minnesota. And this year it's actually really nice because instead of usually it's like a 11 to 14,000 car show, which is totally bananas, depending on the year. But this year, because they canceled it for COVID-19 rules, and then the rules like literally a week after they canceled it were changed. They had to bring it back.
Well, they didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah, they chose to bring it back, and it was really nice because now all of the riffraff isn't there, and there's like 9,000, maybe 10,000 cars, and it's really nice to see that there's just a few thousand less cars, and like no extra spectators because they didn't have any time to market it.
Right, and all the posters say "See you next year."
Yeah, it's really nice.
So normally that event, I mean, it's I think it's the biggest recurring car show in the world still.
It
usually.
depends on the year.
It's up
like
there, though.
that and Hershey are
Okay.
like they're tied.
So anyway, normally, just to describe from people that have never been there, it is our fairgrounds where the Minnesota State Fair is held, which is huge.
It is a 1 square half mile.
I can't believe it's not bigger than that.
I know, right?
Wow. Okay. But that's like its prime real
You
estate.
walk
Yeah.
way further during that.
But anyway, it takes you genuinely, and if you are not stopping to investigate cars very much, 3 days to see everything at that show typically.
Yep.
3 full days.
Yes.
And what would you? Is it 2 or is it down to 1 day to see it all?
Oh, it's
this
still
year?
it's still a
2
2
days?
day
Okay.
easily. Like
Yeah,
I did like a lot of walking yesterday, and it is still a lot to look at. But when I say it's nicer, it's easier to walk because while there are a bunch of old people and rascals that are just like trying to run over your feet, it's not nearly as bad as it was the last few years.
I'm gonna say some of those people are pre-war,
Yes, I think so.
and some of the cars probably too.
Actually, speaking of that, there was probably one of the most adorable things I've ever seen was a bunch of old pre-war guys, like Greatest Generation, really, really old guys all together in a Ford Falcon, and they looked like teenagers. It was so adorable.
They're just reliving their past.
It was really great. I really loved it a lot. It was super wholesome. But
Are any Fintails?
oh yeah,
Good.
several. There's actually like a very good showing of 50s Mopar there this year, which is like my favorite because they had just the dumbest just Fintails.
No, I'm talking Mercedes Fintails.
Oh, Mercedes Fintails?
I was thinking about anything that isn't domestic because that's a rarity.
Yes,
there.
I saw one.
Okay.
Actually, there was one Mercedes Fintail. There's an Austin 7 that was there. There's a Rolls Royce, a solitary chrome bumper MG midget.
MG.
Oh, I saw a Delahaye that was there.
That's
That
kinda
was
cool.
Really cool. Delahaye 135 with chaperone bodywork. Yeah, it was very cool.
That is maybe the best name for a manufacturer ever come up. Like, what do you drive? I'll drive a Delahaye.
Delahaye and Delage are both like on par for me, and they both use. I actually had a conversation with a guy, because like, I was like the only person. I'm like, what is this? And he's like a Delahaye. I'm like, oh, it's a Delahaye. Like I thought that when I saw the front bumper, but then I saw the Jaguar wheels. It was a restoration project. As I talked to him about coach building, and he's like. I'm like, I've never seen this with the factory bodywork. He's like, yeah, chaperone was our factory bodywork. And it was like, right. And I'm like, yeah, usually when I see it, it's like Porto or something like that. He goes, and we're having an actual conversation about
I bet
coach
he was
building.
Caught off guard.
He was very surprised to have a conversation about a coach building. And I was
with somebody that was younger than 90?
Yeah, I know, right? And I was like, into it. So I was very excited. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I think that this is a good way to like describe what makes a kind of like a classic hot rod of that era cool versus not cool, is you're not trying to make the car something it's not.
What do you mean?
So a lot of these hot rods that are really cringy and horrible are ones where they put like coilover suspension on it and like they fuel inject it and they put in like a modern interior. And
Isn't that just resto modding?
Yeah, I hate that.
Hey,
like,
man, Blubsky takes offense to that.
I'm thinking like pro mod. Sort of almost.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so jamming like 12-inch meats under the back of a stock body Camaro or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just like things like that suck. And I actually really like that they specifically say no Mustangs. It's 1964. It's a cutoff. Like they actually say May 1964
for those 64 and a half cutoff.
Yeah, so you don't get a bunch of 64 and a half Mustangs. That's like my favorite thing because that means there's like significantly fewer pro mod cars.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, because it's all muscle cars that do it. But what you get is
you probably still get some.
No, you get a bunch of like ZZ Top Eliminator era hot rods.
Oh god.
Like there's a guy like a really nice 47 Ford sedan, and
how many Coddington inspired cars?
It had Boyd Coddington wheels and Mini Cooper headlights.
Oh weird.
It was bad.
Ugh.
I hate that so much. But like things like that I hate. So, and I was walking around with Dan, and we were like, kind of comparing them. I was like pointing things out.
Mr.
Like,
Balto.
Yeah, I was pointing out some things on the cars, and like, I kind of noticed is like, a lot of these cars, like, they weren't trying to make the car something it's not. Like, they weren't trying to take Model T and make it handle well. It's not.
Right. Just don't do that.
It's not gonna do that. You're gonna try really hard, and you're gonna have a car that handles as well as a stock Miata.
It's like people, they're buying like 328 6-speed sedans. Like, how do I make it faster? I'm like, buy an F body.
You just enjoy it. You
just drive the car for what it is. Like, it's fine.
But
like, if you want to go fast in a straight line, go with something that's got a JEGS catalog support.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I put a turbo on it. Like you're beating your head against the wall.
But then it's like, why would you buy a 335 and all this other crap?
You're beating your head against the wall.
I know. It's just dumb.
How do I increase the towing capacity of my Ferrari? Like you
gotta do a lot of welding.
Yeah. Like it's really stupid, and it's probably gonna suck, and it's gonna be really expensive. And
it's gonna be great.
You're gonna destroy the value of it.
But still gonna be great.
If you look at a lot of these cars, and when I say like making something it's not, the first thing that kind of comes to your mind is like, well, isn't putting a Ford V8 into a Model T making something it's not?
Or a small block Chevy?
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is that
a flathead Model T would be kind of cool.
I feel like putting even a belly button V8 into one of those, I still consider that like making it what it is, because it's like that was a kind of a traditional thing to do during that period of time.
Period mod.
Also, it was people were already doing that before the V8s came. Like the Model T when it came out, people immediately started putting water pumps on them to like make them
good. The
more
thermocycle
reliable.
Wasn't great.
But I mean, they started putting water pumps on them. They started putting like finned valve covers on them to like keep like the heat down on the cylinder head.
Yeah.
And so they would start doing stuff, and just doing the V8 was just a continuation of that.
Well, and there were V8s around at that time too, but they were mainly aero engines.
Yeah, and so you didn't really see anybody taking a V8 out of a 1913 Oldsmobile and putting it into your...
they were kind of expensive.
Yeah, so...
multi-piece casting block and all that other crap.
Yeah, and so like when you put a like belly button Chevy or a flathead or something, that's like keeping with the tradition of what people were doing with Model Ts when they first came out, is to make them a little bit quicker in a straight line, so you can drive down the road a little bit faster. You're not like taking a Model T and like
Putting a Coyote in it.
or like you didn't see people in 1913 or 1920 taking a Model T and then going to like a junkyard and finding front brakes from a Bugatti to like make sure they have 4-wheel drums.
But that would look amazing.
It looked very cool.
The big fin. Oh man, old pre-war drums are like from the performance cars.
The best drum I've ever seen actually is the drum on my Buick.
I think the Type 35 has better drums.
No, this one's quite good. Because it's a
Also, I just have to.
yeah, thank you. It's got a finned drum with a air inlet.
Is it like drilled on the front or?
No, there's actually a little scoop on the inside of the brake backing plate
Oh, okay,
that draws air in. It's really cool. It's like
that's probably
Yeah.
smart.
that's what everybody puts on their hot rods.
Hmm.
So these days, but yeah. So when I say like make something that's not is like when you totally break with the tradition. So I was looking at all like the super cringy cars, and it's like, yeah, I got a 1957 Chevy Bel Air, and I made the entire body out of carbon fiber, and now it's got an LS in it, and it's got a automatic, a 4L80 in it, and it's just like, oh. I've got 20-inch wheels, and I've got 4-wheel disc brakes. I'm just like
You just made a worse Corvette that's shaped like a 50s car.
yeah, and I'm like, now you're gonna tell me how much you love Garage Inc. by Metallica. Like you're just gonna like ruin my day, aren't you? So
I mean, I understand people have different tastes and preferences, but yeah, I don't really understand that. I mean, everyone goes through that phase with their car of their era, where like, yeah, resto mod, like do all this crap, but then you end up reverting to like, oh yeah, this was actually better stock.
yeah, I think like with import cars that like we grew up with, we're entering that era where it's like, yeah, you can put in the new Civic Type R engine, or you can put a B Series into your Civic. I'd rather see a B Series because now it's like kind of cool to build that because it's like era correct, like working really hard to get 200 horsepower. Like you're still gonna have a blast.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, here's a K.
Yeah,
You're done. What? Yeah, you're
yeah,
done.
and it's like every single car in Honda tuning has a K Series swap in it now,
Which
and I'm just
I still really like that.
I like K Series swaps, and like I think that the K Series is like that's like the small block Chevy, like that's like the
It might even be better.
well, I mean for Hondas and
Right,
stuff,
right.
it's like that's the small block Chevy swap, like
That's
that's
a
the one
Honda
you should do. Yeah, that's your belly button. For Hondas, is everybody can get a K Series.
Hi, belly button.
But
I had to wave to mine.
when you have like now you have like people are putting in like these new like 1.5 Type R engines or turbo. I'm like, okay, that's
Isn't the Type R 2-liter?
I don't know. What do you know?
I
what
think
mean?
the stock one's
You
a
have
1.5.
the
and
there's
Type
a
R is
1.5
2.
from the SI, and
They're
there's
both
a
the
2-liter.
Earth Dreams.
Yeah, but I mean like
I think the Type R is a 2-liter.
you go to that and you're just like, okay, this is like, I think it's frankly it's too much. It's just like, all right, cool. Like you don't need to do anything to it. You just put it.
That's too much torque for a 90s
It's an LT1.
Honda.
That's what it is. It's an LT1. Like, so when you look under the hood of a 32 and there's an LT1 in there, like, it's not carbureted. Like, this isn't
what's
right.
this tune port garbage?
Like, what? Yeah, like this is like good. Like, no, you're supposed to like. That's the thing is like it's supposed to have the antiquated technology and doing quite well with antiquated technology. Like even with the K series, is like that's not antiquated.
you just
but
want
it's just
Hillborn
good.
on a new LT, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I want.
You took off the direct injection, you put Hillborn on it?
Yep.
Damn right I did.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. So like, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is like you just don't make something it's not. So.
Drill a distributor, take off. Do an LT.
Put a distributor on it. Yeah.
It's
I
like
want this.
electrically driven somehow. What the? You're welcome.
It's not coil on plug. It's coil near plug.
Yep.
And just like it's a distributor inside. It's just a bunch of little coil packs.
I bet that shit exists.
I'm sure that exists. I'm sure somebody makes a
Probably just a
distributor
dress-up part, yeah.
that's just a bunch of coil packs for an LS. I guaranteed that exists. God,
Oh
that's
my
dumb.
Lanta, that's so great.
Now I said it out loud. That's really dumb.
But like, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about that. Like, it's been forever people taking fuel injection, first gen fuel injection off, putting on carbs.
Yeah.
Are we going to get to that point where like we are actually DI cars? People
Yeah.
are putting port injection on them to get them to run
Exactly.
in older stuff. Like, are we going to get to a point where people are going all the way back to carbs on DI engines?
That'd be hilarious.
Like, how are you going to get VVT to work?
Actually, people do that.
I'm sure they do because
so-
ignition systems can.
Well,
run
no,
it.
with Honda B series, like people do D and B series swaps into minis all the time. They run carburetors.
Yeah.
So you can actually run a carburetor with VTEC you just have it run rich when you're not in VTEC, or you have it run
Sure.
lean, or you have your secondaries open up about the same time that VTEC
Oh my god.
crosses over.
That's
and
amazing.
Yeah, it's like people actually do these things. So it's like, yeah, my secondaries are like tuned to open up at like about 5,500 RPM, and then that's when VTEC crosses over, and then I have the extra fuel to account for the extra air mass. So yeah, maybe that might work.
That's incredible.
So there you go. Let's talk about other modern vehicles.
Fair enough. About 2 years ago, Mazda promised us one of many things. Hopefully this one actually comes to fruition, unlike the diesel engine, which we never got. But they promised us an inline-6 gasoline engine in the front, a transmission in the middle of unknown origin and type, and rear-wheel drive. So the platform is indeed coming to the States, but
Yes.
we've got some more news that's interesting.
How so?
They're going to offer not only a straight 6 gas on it, in conventional form with no necessary
They're
add-ons.
like a 6-cylinder hybrid, aren't they?
It's going to be a 4-cylinder. So the mild hybrid is going to be a 48-volt system with a starter generator
Okay.
and a 4-cylinder with the same
Or a
rear-wheel drive
6-cylinder
platform.
non-hybrid.
Correct.
Very
so
cool.
they're still going to offer us that. But here's the kicker. They're also going to put a rotary in it. I don't know any reason why they would do that.
No, this actually makes sense. But it's also kind of like Mazda like throwing everything but the kitchen sink into one platform.
Well,
it feels like
it gets really fragmented, yeah, because like not only is this rear-wheel drive, but like the 4-cylinder mild hybrid is going to have all-wheel drive option.
Is there going to be a compliance option for Europe with a 3-cylinder? It's like 1 liter.
There is a diesel engine planned, not for us, so probably. But like,
of course I was right saying that.
I mean, I'm excited about it just because it's a brand new, like it's a parts donor chassis. Like this, that'll be on all the drift cars in 20 years probably. That
Honestly,
Mazda
it
rear
might just be
suspension.
good. It might just be a good car.
It could be, but I mean,
So-
straight 6 engine made by Mazda, that's going to be good.
So if you want to see something that was very similar to this, why don't you just look up Mazda Luce, L-U-C-E.
Are you sure you don't mean Pizza Luce?
Delicious.
That is a good chain.
So just go to their Wikipedia. Actually, that's the best way to look at it because they had a lot of different generations. This car's in production. Now look at the one from the 80s. Oh god. The one is like late 80s, early 90s. That one. Nope, the generation before it actually. I'm sorry. I apologize. That one. Yes. So you could get
Oh,
that.
those wheels covers.
Yeah, this is one of those cars where you could get the base model of it was very meh, as you see here. But you could get them like spec'd out to be turbocharged rotary, like BMW 7 Series equivalent levels of
Weird.
luxury with a rotary engine.
A turbo rotary from that era. Woo!
Yeah, or you can get an inline 6 automatic as well. It's just really weird. You can just say you could get a Mazda Luce and like whatever you wanted. But yeah, it was called the 929.
So is this going to be the 929 then?
I really hope they bring it back as a
That'd be kinda
929. That'd
cool.
be super rad. Like that'd be a great comeback, or just call it the Mazda 9.
Mazda 9 would be cool.
Like that'd be really really cool if they brought that back as a 929, because that was like the coolest car that nobody bought.
Dude, especially the generation after
The 90s
this
one?
Yeah.
The 90s
It
one.
had so much tech, and it was cheap.
It was the one with the it had
The vents and stuff.
yeah, it had the solar power or the solar panel sunroof that powered the little
The vent.
like computer fans that would cool down the interior.
Mhm.
So cool.
Well, I had a lot of Japanese cars had the oscillating vents too, but like they were actually reliable on these for some reason.
Yeah, oscillating vents started with that generation I showed you. Like so, like this was like 1985, and they were doing
Oh
like
my God.
oscillating vents and like heated like power adjustable heated seats and like massage functions and stuff.
I mean, you
Just-
look at that and you wouldn't think like luxury car, but it
yeah,
actually
no,
was.
actually total luxury car. Like it was like a really really good luxury like sleeper. Like it's like luxury car. Like if you live in like France and there's like a lot of communists
Mhm.
and you want to have a bougie car but you don't want to be killed for being bourgeois, you get a 929. Like it's a really good luxury car.
Avoid being killed by a Mazda 9.
What that seems like is that seems like the sort of car that the chairman of a communist country would.
That's how he gets around town
Yeah.
without being noticed.
Yeah, it's like the Chairman Deng Xiaoping would drive one, or
Probably.
like I don't know what Vietnam has. Do they have a president?
You're asking the wrong person.
But like I feel like the dignitary of Vietnam would have one. Like that seems like a Vietnamese head of state car would be a
I can't
929.
imagine trying to push a car that size through Vietnamese streets.
It probably do really well because they had the sonar system for the suspension. They had a sonar system on their front suspension that would report back road bumps 5 feet ahead of the car, and they would adjust the valving and the shocks to meet what the sonar system said.
What the hell?
Yeah,
That's
I know,
cool.
right? Like weird, super bananas tech. Old 80s
I don't
Japanese
see any
cars.
sonar emitters on this
Yeah,
thing. What
it's
the hell?
really cool.
How did we regress in technology? Like, there's so much cool stuff that was like, oh, everyone's like the S-Class births all the technology. I'm
No.
like, no, you got to look in Japan.
You know, look at weird Mazdas. It's weird Mazdas are where everything comes from. So yeah, like just like weird stuff like that. It was, you know what? Actually, I might be wrong. That might have been in the Toyota Soarer, but there was a Japanese car that had sonar suspension.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was a Toyota product, because I know they did a lot with suspension.
But yeah, there's a reason.
Lexus
There's a reason that Mazda was bought out by Ford because they had no money after the 80s. Because yeah,
Because every project wasn't on time.
every single project, every single one. Because like you say a 929, nobody knows what the hell a 929 is. But then you're like,
You do catch a few people. 'Cause,
but
like,
yeah,
yeah.
but then you're like, you tell them like the things that came out of it, and you're like, oh man, why don't I know what this car is? And then you have to like, well, you see, in 1993, the Japanese bubble economy collapsed, and Mazda, you just like give them like an entire dissertation
And then
on Japanese economics, and
gloss.
then they're like, oh, okay, that's why I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, this makes
right.
sense now.
But I don't know. I assume the United States will still get the straight six platform.
I'm very excited for this.
The volume
big
one,
fan.
you know, is going to be the mild hybrid 4-cylinder all-wheel drive.
That's fine, whatever.
But like, are we going to get the rotary? I don't know.
I don't know,
I
but
don't
I really, I don't care about the rotary. I want the inline six.
I know Mazda inline six like
I
that.
want that quite bad.
Oh,
I want to buy this, and I want to drive it and park it in front of Good Karma and just bother Keith because he just bought a Mazda 3.
whatever happened to? Is Mercedes making their inline six again now?
I don't know. They said they were going to. and
Yeah,
they
is
just,
that
like,
actually a thing yet?
I don't know.
here?
I think Greta Thunberg yelled at him too much,
But
and now they're not.
but straight sixes though.
It's
It's best
alright.
engine.
It's all right.
I'm sad.
That's the problem is it's engine.
I'm has a sad.
It's engine. That's the issue.
Yeah, but internal combustion's still cool.
But you know what's cooler is external combustion.
Is that like total loss oiling?
No, that's steam engines.
Oh yeah.
So, speaking of bringing things back, you remember Daihatsu had the competitor to the Samurai back in the day called
the
the
Rocky.
Rocky?
Yeah,
In Japan, it had a great name. Do you know what it was called in Japan?
I don't.
It's called the Rugger.
That just sounds like an 80s name for a lesbian.
It sounds like the 80s name for like.
I've seen Tiffany. She's cute. Nah, man, she's a rugga.
It sounds like the 80s term for like overgrown pubic hair.
Again,
Yeah,
we're saying the same thing.
yeah, it just looks like a rugger. But anyway, so
I could see a rugger driving a rugger.
they are apparently bringing back the Daihatsu rugger
Here? Or in
Or-
Japan?
in Japan.
Okay.
And I have to call it a rugger because it's a Rocky here and not a rugger. It's a rugger there.
So are we going to get the rugger rocker here?
I don't know if
Or
we're going to get the
Rugger
rugger rocker. But you would be really cool is if, because Toyota owns Daihatsu.
I didn't actually know that.
Oh, yeah. They've owned Daihatsu for like decades.
Well, we need competition then. They need to bring this, and then we need the.
You remember how I said
Patriot.
probably like 50 episodes ago that Toyota should bring the Land Cruiser back as a separate brand to compete with Jeep?
Mhm.
That would be their entry-level vehicle.
Also, this should bring us the Jimny. Also, this should bring us the Patriot.
Well, they can't bring us either of those, but the Toyota could bring us the Rugger as like a entry-level Land Cruiser, like as its own brand. Have the actual Land Cruiser be like the Halo car. Have like a Land Cruiser like pickup, like competing against the Jeep Gladiator. Like Toyota could totally launch an entire
and
brand.
the
then
Bronco, let's be honest.
any of the Lexus GX,
GX.
which is the Land Cruiser Prado, that'd be like your like kind of Grand Cherokee competitor if you just like take it down a little bit in market because
Mhm.
like Toyota makes a down market Prado, they make a cheap Prado that we don't get. So Toyota could totally make a Jeep competitor brand and have just the coolest vehicles because Toyota does 100% make better off-road vehicles than anybody else. And
yeah, they're just out there doing a good job.
And they don't lean into it, and it bothers me a lot. But I think that Akio Toyota, he's the right guy for the job, and I think that if somebody could plant that seed in his brain, it would happen.
I assume he listens, so the
I
seed
assume he
is
does too.
planted.
Because he has done a lot of things that we want.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I don't think that's an accident.
Also, great minds think alike, so.
Like, you know what we should do?
Yeah.
Bring back the Rugger, and then ship it to the United States as a Land Cruiser Mini Boy.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be so fun.
They should call it the Land Cruiser Mini Boy, though.
That'd be really great.
Wait. The Japanese name escaped Japan? It did.
Yes, it did.
The Mini Boy.
The Mini Boy.
Okay, now I want that.
They could bring the Toyota Mega Cruiser here and call it the Land Crusher.
Oh, man.
Also, I feel like the Mega Cruiser doesn't get enough respect for what it is because it's equivalent to a Hummer. Like, it's the same size. It's actually bigger.
Like an H1?
It's bigger than a Hummer. Like
I don't know if I know what a Mega Cruiser is.
Look up a Toyota Mega Cruiser. It's bigger than a Hummer, and it has a 4-cylinder.
Oh, my... What?
It's got a gigantic diesel 4-cylinder in it.
I have never even heard of this.
Yeah, this is...
That looks just like an H1.
Yeah, so it's they made it for the Japanese Civil Defense Force. And it's got a 4.5-liter 4-cylinder.
Oh, so it's like a 4BT kind of thing?
Well, made by Toyota.
Right, but like...
And it's turbo diesel. It's really cool. And like, they as of this year, you can import them. They're super rare for civilian spec. But you can get one of the Civil Defense Force versions. The Mega Cruiser. It's just a great vehicle.
It's like,
I can't believe you've never heard of it.
Block font. I've never heard of this.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome. Like, people... I'm surprised you just... Because you watch, like, Russian car YouTubers more than I do. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. Because in Russia, they've been importing these for years. Because, like, what's better than a Hummer? Something bigger than a Hummer. It's literally, like, 2 inches wider than a Hummer.
Doesn't look like it has portal axles, but whatever.
I think it has solid... No, I think it does have independent front suspension. Yeah.
It must, yeah. The rear...
Rear, I think, is solid.
I don't know. That's a weird vehicle.
It's super cool. But, yeah, it's basically like a scaled-up Hilux. Like, you just made a Hilux bigger and beefier. And then turned it into an Army vehicle and then put air conditioning and door panels in it. And that's what it is.
I mean, they're bringing back an EV Hummer. I guess bring us an EV Mega Cruiser.
They called it the Toyota Land Crusher. The Land Cruiser Land Crusher would be perfect. Like,
you gotta like work in some E vernacular to it, but yeah.
Land Crush -ER.
Wow. I mean that was an A effort clearly.
There we go.
No, I don't know about that.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked you've never heard of that.
I'm surprised too, considering how long I've known you.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very you vehicle. Like, if you were to, like, ever import, like, a big, dumb truck, like, it would probably be that.
It would have to be really dumb.
Yeah, that's a really, really dumb truck. The more you read about it, the more dumb it is. Like, it's like a super low production, too. So they're, like, bananas expensive to get the civilian one. You can get one with, like, a crash record for, like, a lot less. Like, you can get sketchy ones from Russia. You would totally get a sketchy one from Russia. And then, like,
I would buy the worst one.
Yeah,
ever.
you'd buy absolutely the worst one that you can get, and they're like, it doesn't matter because they're all reliable because it's a Toyota that's made for the Army. So
yeah,
it's
but you
got to
do something dumb like put a North Star in it.
Well, it already has the dumbest possible engine. It's got a stupid big 4-cylinder.
I feel like that's a commercial truck engine from Japan.
Like a Toyota, like, I think what cow is it? Like the Toyota Coaster. That's the name of their bus.
They need to bring back their ridiculous name. They should just fire everyone in the United States that makes names and just like port all the Japanese names.
Yeah, we need the Toyota Coaster. We need the Mega
Clugger.
Cruiser, the Clugger, the Pronard.
Oh God, that just sounds like proctology.
And then the best name that they've ever come up with is the Camry Coupe, the Toyota Scepter.
Yep.
You just look at it; it's like the lamest car.
If I had to go back and pick like one of my favorite episodes of Carbitrage,
is when we did
it might be the Toyota naming one where I was just dying laughing at like the Clugger and the
all
Scepter.
Their names are just like
were you just like in a dictionary, just like flipping back and forth like a random name generator?
So when I looked at that, I actually went through. So there's a Japanese like auction website that like goes through like all the various like used car dealerships in Japan that are selling cars. It's called Goonet Exchange.
Yep.
I was going down Goonet Exchange. I just typed in Toyota and I looked at all the weird ones. I didn't know what they were. And I was like, oh, what's this? You like this was weird.
And it has a 2-liter NA 4-cylinder with a manual.
It was just odd. So
yeah, Camry Coupe with the 3S GE in it. It'd just be weird.
And it's called the Scepter. This is a great name. It's just a weird vehicle.
It's very medieval.
All right. Well, let's cap the episode on that. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.